Hola clase, hoy vamos a discutir expressions with tener, pero primero vamos a practicar las capitales. ¿Cuál es la capital de Honduras? La capital es Tegucigalpa. ¿Cuál es la capital de España? La capital es Madrid. ¿Cuál es la capital de El Salvador? La capital es San Salvador. ¿Cuál es la capital de Nicaragua? La capital es Managua. ¿Cuál es la capital de Costa Rica? La capital es San José. ¿Cuál es la capital de Venezuela? La capital es Caracas. ¿Cuál es la capital de Colombia? La capital es Bogotá. Vamos a practicar vocabulario de capítulo 3. We're going to practice chapter 3 vocabulary. ¿Cómo se dice to tidy up a room? Arreglar el cuarto. ¿Cómo se dice to sweep? Barrer. ¿Cómo se dice to cook? Cocinar. ¿Cómo se dice to mow the lawn? Cortar el césped. ¿Cómo se dice to fold the clothes? Doblar la ropa. ¿Cómo se dice to make the bed? Hacer la cama. ¿Cómo se dice to wash the dishes? Lavar los platos. ¿Cómo se dice to dry the clothes? Oh, or wash the clothes, excuse me. Lavar la ropa. To dry the clothes would be secar la ropa. ¿Cómo se dice to clean? Limpiar. ¿Cómo se dice to vacuum? Pasar la aspiradora. ¿Cómo se dice to iron? Planchar. ¿Cómo se dice to set the table? Poner la mesa. ¿Cómo se dice to clear the table? Quitar la mesa. ¿Cómo se dice to take out the trash? Sacar la basura. ¿Cómo se dice to dust? Sacudir los muebles. ¿Cómo se dice to dry the clothes? Secar la ropa. ¿Cómo se dice to hang the clothes? Tender la ropa. ¿Cómo se dice to work in the garden? Trabajar en el jardín. So today we're going to be focusing on expressions with tener. The verb tener is used in many common expressions that are expressed with to be in English. So actually this is where it kind of gets lost in translation. And this is why a lot of times if you translate entire sentences on Google Translate or something, it might not translate exactly. So tener actually means to have. So when they say tener calor, it means I have heat, which we would never say that, or I have cold. We would say I am hot or I am cold. And so you've already seen that tener calor and tener frío are used to express to be hot or to be cold, respectively. Here are a few other tener expressions that you will need to know. So before we get to that, this is just how you conjugate the verb tener. So note that the verb tener is irregular through the entire thing. So you have yo tengo, which means I have or I am if you're using tener expressions. Tienes, so the E changes to IE. Ella tiene, he or she has. Usted tiene. Nosotros tenemos. So note here that E does not change to IE. So not only is it very irregular in the yo form, The two al ella, ellos, ellas change e to ie, but in the nosotros and vosotros, you have to remember that it doesn't change from e to ie because tenemos would be kind of difficult to say. And so sometimes this is why when you get into regular verbs with Spanish, it can get really complicated. But obviously, the more you practice, the better and easier it'll get because there's a lot of small details. So these are some of the different expressions that we would use to be with, and in Spanish they use tener. So tener años means to be how many years old. So they actually say yo tengo 20 años. I have 20 years, where we say I am 20 years old. Tener mucho calor, to be very hot. Tener cuidado, to be careful. Tener éxito. So this is a false cognate. So it doesn't mean to be an exit. It means to be successful. So watch out for those cognates or those false cognates, ones that look like words that look like in English but do not mean the same thing. Tener frío, to be cold. Tener ganas de, to feel like doing something. So yo tengo ganas de comer una hamburguesa. I feel like eating a hamburger. Tener miedo, to be afraid of. Tener miedo de serpientes, to be afraid of snakes. And so that's where the de comes from. Tener prisa, to be in a hurry. Tener razón is to be right. It almost kind of looks like to have reason. So no tener razón would be to be wrong. Tener mucha sed, to be thirsty. Tener sueño, to be sleepy. Tener mucha suerte, to be lucky. And it would be mucha would be to be very lucky. And I think one of them that's missing on here is tener hambre, which means to be hungry. So these are some of the translations that you have in your packet, and you'll also see on one of your quizzes on Connect. I am 20 years old. Yo tengo 20 años. And just make sure that you spell 20 right. A lot of us want to put I before E just because of our regular rules in English. So make sure that you spell vein, right? And it's E before I. And also really important that you have an accent mark over here. This is called the tilde, and there's a huge difference. And this one, people will ask me, do accent marks count? Yes, they count because they completely change the definition of the word. And this is a really good example. Yo tengo 20 años means I'm 20 years old. If I did not have the tilde here and I said yo tengo 20 años, I just said I have 20 anuses. So there's a huge difference when you leave out accent marks. So make sure you know that they're part of the spelling. So we are hungry at noon. Tenemos hambre a las 12 or tenemos hambre al mediodía. You can say it either way. And note that I'm not using subject pronouns. So you can have nosotros tenemos, or you can just have tenemos. It's just a matter of preference. And that's one of the things that's unique about Spanish is that even when you leave out the subject pronoun, we know we're talking in the we form because tenemos is the only one that's conjugated that would represent the we form. The students are thirsty after basketball. Los estudiantes tienen sed después de baloncesto. Or you also can use the word de basketball. You are sleepy on Mondays. Tiene sueño los lunes. So if it's something that's repetitive, if it's every Monday that you're tired, you would say los lunes. If it's a one time during the week, you would say el lunes. I was tired on Monday, el lunes. Número 5, Elena is always in a hurry. Elena siempre tiene prisa. My Spanish teacher is always right. Mi profesora de español siempre tiene razón. No es la verdad. That is not true. We are going to be cold in the winter. So this one's a little bit tricky. So I'm going to use the verb ir, right? Because I'm saying we are going to be. So vamos a tener frío en el invierno. So we learned about how to conjugate the verb ir last chapter. And that means if you have the conjugated verb ir, that after it comes the infinitive, right? And your infinitive in this case is tener. The infinitive is a verb that is not conjugated yet. It's still in its original form. I am hot because it is sunny and warm. Tengo calor porque hace sol y calor hoy. So that wraps up our lesson for today. I hope this gives you a better understanding of expressions with tener and why sometimes things get lost in translation. And remember with Spanish, it's always just constant repetition, especially as we get into these irregular verbs. The more you practice, the better you'll be at it. And it's okay to make mistake. It's just a matter of, putting yourself out there and willing to take that risk. And eventually somebody will correct you and you'll get better at it. Okay, well, que tenga buen día y adios.